It's hard not to look at us in the screen.
We could be live at any point in time, so you got to be careful what you say.
All right. I believe you guys are live.
I believe we're live. All right. Welcome. Okay, my name's Scott. This is Kelsey. This is the Piercing with Scott channel, and we're doing a live chat. We haven't done this in several weeks. Honestly,
It has been a little while.
we've been pretty sick. We've been taking turns being sick, and it just hasn't worked out. So it's been a long time. It's good to be back. Basically, what we're doing here is we're taking questions, and we're trying to answer them to the best and fullest ability that we have here. We're professional body piercers. I've been doing it just shy of 30 years.
I've been doing this for about 10.
About 10 years. So we got a lot of experience here. Now, when you're asking a question, it's really, really important to ask a thorough question. If you just say, hey, why do I have a bump? I can't answer that. But if you say, hey, I have a nose piercing that's 1 year old, I never had a bump or any problems, and recently I got it snagged, and now it has a huge bump, what's going on? I can answer that question. So, yeah. So how you been, Kelsey?
I've been doing pretty fantastic.
You feeling better?
Actually, I'm feeling so much better. Last week was rough. I haven't been sick like that in what feels like forever.
I know.
So,
I know. It got me too, but it's like as soon as it hit me, I just started immediately taking a bunch of vitamin C, and but yeah, we just kind of spread it around the shop, one person at a time. So
it was like the plague.
Over on the other side over there, you can't. We don't have a camera on them yet, but Nova is over there. So Nova, if you want to say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. We've got a couple highs also. So
all right.
Hi to Trudy Miller.
Hi, Trudy.
Hi to Faith, who does have a question that will be coming up.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sweet.
CTS Diva says, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Missed you. Andrea Ragland says, hey, with some hard eyes.
Hey.
And we got our first question from Faith. Can I wear in-ear headphones with a healing tragus?
Absolutely. I would just make sure that the headphones are cleaned regularly. Usually what I tell people is maybe buy a little box of the little alcohol wipes, and you can wipe them down in between uses. Obviously, be cautious of your new piercing. Make sure that you're keeping your piercing nice and clean. And yeah.
Okay, so we're starting this off with a fight. I say no. I say do not wear earphones. No, because it distorts the ear and people get bumps. Now, I did have an apprentice who we pierced his tragus, and I told him not to wear earphones. He's like, I got the softest, cushiest ones, and he goes, they don't hurt. I can't feel them at all. A week later, he had a huge bump on his ear. So anytime you're taking that jewelry and you're distorting or twisting it, it can cause problems. So What
about the over-ear headphones?
Over the ear, yes. But if you have inner ear cartilage like a doth or a tragus, I'm going to say over the ear only. And if you have like a helix or an outer piercing here, then you can wear only the inner ear ones, as long as the headphones don't press up against it. See, again, here, like everyone can have completely different opinions. Some people can wear them and not have problems. Some people do.
I was able to heal my tragus, conch, doth piercings pretty easily, and I wear headphones very often. The Beats Fit Pros, they fit in there nice and snug. They actually hook under the rook and everything. But I mean, obviously cleaning regularly, so
it's important. Yeah,
it's important.
And anything,
as long as it doesn't. I mean, I'm huge on nothing applying any sort of downward pressure on your fresh piercings, just to help promote healthy healing. So
correct.
Yeah, but
so it's kind of on you. I would say try to abstain as best you can, or use the over the ear earphones.
Just be cautious.
Yeah, be cautious. Listen to your body, and if you start getting the bump, definitely stop, because that would be the source of the problem. So,
yes.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Sweet. Thanks, Faith, for kicking us off there.
Yeah, that was a great question.
That was a good question.
We've got a hi there from iShow.
Hi, iShow.
And I'm gonna stumble on this name. Forgive me. From Manan Vashisht. Good day, Scott. I think you probably remember me.
Yes, we remember that name.
Which I just did, I'm sure, too. But hey, big news. I've stretched my lobes to 6 millimeter. Haha. Your videos help.
Awesome. Sweet.
So glad to help. That is so amazing. Congratulations on your stretch. Yeah, it's kind of addicting. It's kind of hard to stop once you get started.
It is really hard to stop once you get started.
Yep. So, I just want to say, hey, we haven't done it yet. Cheers. We got our Dutch brothers.
I'm not
cheating today. If you guys have
today.
your coffee, your drink, your water, cheers to you guys too. Happy piercings.
If anyone from Dutch Brothers is watching, we are shamelessly open to your sponsor.
Someone said they were going to be watching earlier. I did go to Dutch and I told her we're doing a live chat. She's like, oh, I'm going to check it out. So if you're watching,
Cheers.
thank you.
Yeah.
We've got a hi everyone from Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Hi, Monica.
A hi from Zombie. Jennifer So. Hi everyone.
Hello, Zombie.
Jesse Jamerican is waving to us. Let's see. Root Roo. Hello guys. Good to see you all.
Hi, Ruru.
And we've got a question from Lexi.
All right, Lexi. What do you got?
More of a comment and that she wants you to expound on.
Sure.
Yes, but I'm itching to get another piercing. I was thinking conch, but I'm a bit nervous about how thick that area is. How is it healing wise in relation to a helix? I have 2 of those currently.
Kelsey?
I mean, it really just kind of depends on the person. As far as like, are you asking if like it's gonna hurt more because it's thicker? For me, any sort of inner ear piercing was a lot more pressure than it was pain. Healing was pretty easy as well, so long as you don't sleep on it. That's probably the most important thing for any outer ear piercing. And if your helixes are, nice and healed, I feel if you got the conch on the same side, you'd have just as good of luck healing that as you would have with the helix. So
I agree. Now, I will say that one of the biggest fears that a majority of people have is how thick an area is. Like, I don't want to do it because that one's thicker here. We're dealing with fractions of a millimeter. Now, the same thing kind of applies to the gauge of the piercing. Some people are like, oh, I'm not going to get a 16. I'm only going to do 18 because the 16 is going to hurt. Your body can't tell the difference between the size.
Exactly.
It's until you get to the really big sizes when you start really noticing the difference. Now, the most important thing you should be concerned about is, am I going to the best piercer I can go to? Because that's what's going to make it the least painful for you. But conch piercings, they're fantastic. The only issue I've ever had with conch piercings is when people wear masks, because the bands that go across the back of your ear pressed up against there and just...
When the pandemic hit and everybody was getting, ear stuff because we couldn't do anything under the masks, we hit this like rough spot of just people's ear piercings not healing very well, especially the conch, even lobes, children's lobes, just so many different things. And it was all due to the mask. And a lot of people, I feel a bigger portion of it was switching from the disposable ones to the cloth ones that people were wearing every day, all day long, and not cleaning them regularly or changing them regularly. That was a really big thing.
But again, it's just pressure.
Pressure applying to those piercings. Any pressure applied to piercings it's a
rough time.
It's a bad combo. So
bad combo.
Oh, hey, I need to say this. This is pretty important. I said I'd give a little shout out to my nephew. So Kellen. Hi, Kellen.
I see your pictures all over the shop, and you are just the cutest thing in the world.
He is so amazing. So just want to say hi to Kellen. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. All right. How are we doing back there, Nova? Any new questions?
Oh, yeah. We've got quite a few.
Ooh,
Bring them on.
We've got one from Angela Tranter. How safe is it to dead stretch your septum? Asking for a friend.
Dead stretch?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that term, actually.
Okay, dead stretch, I think is all they're meaning is you don't use any tools and you just put stuff in. Now, I'm a big fan of it. Septums are naturally lubricated. I'm still going to say lubricate the jewelry, get some sort of like even soap and water so it moves nice and freely. But once you have that size, like if you're going from a 16 to a 14 and your jewelry, your 16's just loose and it moves, chances are you're going to be able to put that jewelry right in without any pain. Now, if it hurts, you're probably not ready to do the stretch. So you just got to wait a little bit longer. Now, once you start getting to larger sizes, like if you're going from a 6 to a 4 or a 4 to a 2, the dead stretch, just putting one single bigger one in there is going to be a complicated, difficult situation. But if you're stacking jewelry, like putting multiple pieces of jewelry like in the nose like that, you just keep adding little ones and you'll get there naturally in a slower, easier process. I'm a fan of the dead stretching for this process.
I'm honestly curious what size my septum might be because of how much I stack in there. I've got a 14, a 16, and 2 18s. And then I just had another 16 in it the other day, but I just took it out.
What was the last time you stretched it or know what size it was?
I never stretched it really. I mean, I think I stretched it to a 12 at one point, but then after that I started stacking, and
I think you're probably easily a 2 gauge.
Maybe.
Easily.
Cool.
Easily. Surprise. See what I mean? You don't even know, and you just got a big septum. Cool. What else we got, Nova?
All right. So we've got one. Forgive me if I mess up this name. It looks like Guillaume Leonard. Hey guys, greetings from Montreal. What are your opinions on the conch punch? Any significant impact in hearing?
Oh, that's a really good question. And I feel we have a conch for a reason. And when you put your ears forward like this, you can hear even better. Like I feel like I'm speaking into my own ear, but then the second I push my ears back, I sound like I'm a little bit farther away. So I feel when you punch the conch, you're taking away like your body's natural ability to like produce, like not necessarily like sound waves, but like to like, I don't know, to hear better. I feel we need our conch for a reason. So when people do like the total conch removal, I'm like, gosh, you probably don't hear very well. So I don't know.
I want to play devil's advocate because I got a really fun one
because
here.
you have little punches in yours.
Now if we remove my conch, and I said I did it because I go to concerts all the time and I don't want to lose the majority of my hearing.
That's a good one. But
like that.
You know, it works like that. I don't have to wear earplugs, so I remove my conches.
Just remove my conches so I can go to a show.
When I got my conches pierced, mine were pierced big. One was at, the rate to a 2 gauge. Pierced at a 4, stretched immediately to a 2. They weren't punched. Now, my equilibrium was shot for the next day or two. I fell over multiple times. I stood out of bed and just fell right on my face. And I was like, what did I? And I just kept falling into walls. So equilibrium was completely thrown off. So that would be one thing I would be concerned about removing conches for, or large conch punches. Now, as far as having holes, I don't wear jewelry, and like light goes through mine. Now, because I've been in bands for a lot of my life, and I've played a lot, been to a lot of concerts, and my hearing is
Can you hear me now?
What? Yeah, no, it's been better. It's been better. I wish I still had more hearing, but I can't really be a true judge. I feel like it stayed the same, but it's something where you get used to and you just don't even realize it. So I feel after a while you would get used to like your new hearing, but again, I feel we need our conches intact for a reason. So I think it would really start making a true effect once you got past 000.
Right, exactly.
Like something like a small, like mine's like a 6 gauge or a 4 gauge in there now. It's not going to affect much, but once there's more room for those sound waves to go through.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm with Kelsey on this one. I did a short stint as an audio engineer, and our conches actually. So what happens is it like Kelsey, you were pretty much dead on. It captures sound waves and reflects them into our ear, like into the ear canal, and then into the eardrum, so we can hear.
Yep.
I also agree with you, Scott. I don't think like necessarily like a 4 or a 2 gauge would do too much.
Yeah, exactly.
But like the total conch removal, absolutely.
Scary. I mean, think of the animals. A lot of animals, they can move their ears to hear better. They're aiming their conch as that satellite dish to pick things up.
So cool.
Yeah.
Like this.
I thought you were really going to wiggle your ears. I got really excited for a second. I'm like, let's see you wiggling with those weights in there. Yeah.
I can't.
So I would say the general consensus is it can affect depending on how big you can get, depending on how big you go.
Yeah.
That's where we were going with that.
Yep.
Thank you, Nova.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
awesome.
Scott and I both have ADD pretty bad, so
I'll keep us on track.
Thank you.
Semi on track because I think I do.
Yeah.
Or I do 3. All right,
3.
So, CTS Diva just got a dermal. Love it. Had it for a month. Going great. How long until I can change it out? I think she means the end.
Yeah.
Not in a hurry because I love the stone. Just would like to know for future reference.
Typically, I tell people about 4 to 6 months. You want that to heal as best as possible.
Can you hand me the dry erase board? Absolutely. And the marker? I want to kind of explain this, and we'll show you how this works. The marker's right next to my big ear. Now we're going to show you this real quick. Ooh, look, you see the width right? No, it's right up here. It disappears when I do this. Is that weird for you guys? It is. Okay, anyways. What is wrong with me?
I don't know.
It is pretty cool.
So I'm drawing a dermal anchor. Normally there's a hole, and a hole, and then this is where the top would screw in. Okay, so let me turn this so you can see what's going on. Now the thing is this is your dermal anchor. This is the part that sticks out. But under your skin, you have a large flat disc where there's 3 holes. Now what we're trying to do is the tissue kind of grows through that, and that anchors this in.
Fuses to the jewelry.
So if you change it too soon, it's not fully fused, and this twists, and it's going to cause it to reject out. So you want this to be fully established before you change your jewelry. Now the other thing to keep in mind is like, the more you change your jewelry, the more you're likely to break it free in the bottom and cause this to reject out sooner than it really wants to. So the less you change it, the better off you are. I really highly recommend find something you really like and only change it if you need to. Now, do not change this out with outfits. You will not have your dermal anchor very long at all if that is the case.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Is that pretty good?
That was very good.
I'm pretty proud of myself.
Good job.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
We got one from Zombie.
Zombie.
Have either of you ever pierced a triple belly button piercing, one center piercing and one on either side? Do you know if this piercing usually heals well?
So that is something that you would have to have the anatomy for. An ex-coworker of mine actually has 4 navel piercings, 3 on the top and then 1 on the bottom.
I see that more often.
And it looks super freaking cool. I personally have not done one. I have done 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. That's the farthest I've gone. But I mean, if somebody has the anatomy for it and you want to come in, I would absolutely love to do a triple navel piercing. Just as a side note.
I want to draw. I don't have your eraser here, so I'm getting
Cat just wants to draw.
Okay, so like if you have your navel here, normally we do the piercing and then the jewelry comes out just like so. Now the thing is when people do this piercing, sometimes you can do 2 on the top across like so, and you have that. And that looks really, really good. Now the parts that people have problems with, for the most part, is the direct sides here. Now these don't have much of a ridge, and when you don't have the ridge is when they're going to reject out. So like what Kelsey was saying is that it was probably like 1, 2, and either 3 or 1, 2, 3, and this almost kind of creating like a trident type thing.
Another issue that some people might have with like with the tissue, if it doesn't have that flatter area or more open, is the jewelry. Depending on how many piercings you get, all the beads on the inside will start to bunch up, causing the piercings to heal crooked or not heal at all.
Like this.
Yep, exactly. And it just looks funky.
And it's hard, and one gets pushed behind the other. They sit in really weird angles, so you have to have the spacing for it.
Yeah, you have to have the spacing for it. I mean, if you have the anatomy for it, but not too much spacing, you can always do much smaller beads on the bottom or flat discs. That way they sit nice and flat up against the top, more or less looking like a floating navel.
That's a good idea. I like that, the floating on the inside. So
actually, my ex-coworker, her 3... I mean, she has a very flat, wide navel, like the top of it, but she has the flat gold discs on the bottom, and then she has the like cute tops on top. Gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to have a ridge. I have seen a person one time that had a ridge, like a perfect circle all the way around, and they were able to do all 4 piercings like so. Oh, I did that right in front of the mic, just like so. But this is pretty rare. Now, the people that have the perfectly round belly button are people who got naval reconstructive surgery, and in my experience, I've never got them to heal. I know people say they can get them to heal.
I have gotten them to heal, but you really have to have a decent anatomy and not much scar tissue in the area, and it has to be minimum a year healed post-op, so.
Yeah. And then the other thing is like you spent how much money on your new navel, your new beautiful belly, and there's a good chance it could reject and you just have a big scar on there.
There's a much higher chance of it rejecting, and I will always tell people till I'm blue in the face that the chances of this rejecting are like a 50-50 just because of the scar tissue. So it's just less viable.
I just straight up turned down naval reconstructive surgery now, so yep.
All right, let's see. We've got one from Sammy, 4421. I'm stacking my septum, and I can finally fit 4 rings in it.
Sweet.
Awesome.
It probably looks beautiful.
4 is like, I think is when you really start feeling like it's stacking. Like 2 is like, oh, I got 2 in there. 3 is like, we're getting there, but 4 is like, I did it.
Yeah.
I did it. I did it. Yeah.
All right, we've got from Lee Finney. Hey, Scott, nice to see you back.
Hi.
got my high nostrils pierced today, and being a piercer, you'd think I'd be okay, but no, I'm such a wimp when it comes to piercing and tattoos. Boy,
Me too.
Do I hear that right now?
Nova just got those done.
Yeah, I got my high nostrils done, and then immediately got sick twice. And I had a 3/8 flat back, almost completely in bed.
It was rough. It was rough.
It was rough, and Scott had to change it while I was over being sick, but my sinuses were super inflamed, so it was miserable. So.
I felt so bad doing. His nose was so red and swollen, and I was like, "Oh, it's got to be done," but I know I'm hurting him. Sucks.
Yeah, but we made it through. So I hear you, Lee. Okay, so Sam Peterson, is it possible to have a material sensitivity in one earlobe and not the other? I got my ears pierced when I was a kid. I'm out of college now. And in high school, I had one of my lobes swell up and get super irritated. I always have been good about cleaning them, so I always chalked it up to it being an allergy. But the other lobe never reacted. Just always been curious.
I guess my question would be, do you primarily sleep on that side?
Camera angles, Nova.
Because if you primarily sleep on that side, you could be, again, the whole applying pressure to a piercing, whether it's healed or not, you can still cause irritation, swelling, a whole nother healing process, basically, just from sleeping on it. So
I also have something to add in. It depends on the quality of the earrings. I know in the past I've seen, just for whatever reason, there's more wear on one of the earrings if the setting is low quality, and that can cause some irritation also.
Exactly.
Also, no two ears are exactly the same. So one might be slightly thicker, one might be slightly thinner. And if you got two of the exact same studs, one just kept over swelling because it was too tight. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors. As far as allergies go, if you're allergic to something, you're allergic to it throughout your whole body. There's no way. I think it's like allergies are almost in the bloodstream, I want to say. And the blood just goes through your whole body. So it's not like, these don't go to this arm, so this arm's not allergic.
That piercing could have, depending on where you were pierced as well. So if you had your ears pierced by like a doctor or, wherever, with a gun, you very well could have been pierced crooked on the one side, where it goes in straight through the lobe and then it comes down at an angle out in through the back. So.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool.
Let's see.
Sorry, we're working with camera angles here. It's a new thing for us, and it's
all learning
I'm
today.
I don't know how to say this right now, but we're like, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Cool. So we've got a hello from Kaylee.
Hi, Kaylee.
And she does have a question lower down, I noticed. I'm thinking about getting a triple forward helix. Is it better to get 2 done and then wait for the 3rd, or all at once?
I typically tell people to just do all 3 of them, heal all 3 at the same time. Again, it is one of those anatomy-based piercings, so as long as you have the room for it, then I say get all 3, heal all 3 at the same time. Otherwise, you're looking at, 4 to 6 months, between healing. So instead of 4 to 6 months to a full year to maybe a year and a half of heal time, you're looking at a couple of years just from healing. So
I'm gonna have to agree on this one. The thing is like, it's going to be a couple months longer for each one you get, but it's not like adding a year long for each one you get. Now, if you get the 3, it's an intense heal. It's going to suck to sleep on. It's going to be swollen. It's going to be rough. And if you got the upper one and lower one, healed it, and then got the middle one, it will be generally easier, but it's almost twice the healing process. So it's a balance. I mean, like personally, if you want it, I would go for it all and just get it over with.
Some piercers do prefer to do ear projects, piercing by piercing, which I can totally understand, wanting to make sure that each piercing heals, just heals well. But yeah, I mean, it really just depends. Just make sure you're taking care of your piercings. Really, they should heal just fine.
Yeah. If it were me, I would just do all of them.
Yep, I would agree. All right, we've got one from Jesse Jamaican. Hola, can the flat back earrings be worn while the tragus is healing to accommodate ear pods? We kind of went over this earlier a little bit, but you can touch base.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're distorting the tissue, which is going to possibly cause bumps. Putting the earbuds in, you're going to push your little tiny crusties through, which is going to cause bumps. Might be fine, but the thing is if you can just wear over the ear earphones for inner ear cartilage, or wear inner earbuds for the outer cartilage until it is all the way healed up. Piercing's a timing game. Find the right time, the situation where it works for you. If you have to wear those over the ear earphones because you're working drive-through or something and you can't avoid it, then you shouldn't be getting the helix piercing until you can wear the inner ear or not have to wear those things. So you're better off not. Yep.
Agreed.
Yep.
All right. We've got something from Shadow Linkle. Hi, Piercing with Scott. I'm a young child who really wants to grow up to be a piercer. I love your channel as it provides a lot of info I thought I knew, but definitely didn't. Really awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
It's always fun seeing like the younger generation wanting to do this, because the piercers, it's just getting less and less and less. Back in the 90s, there was a lot more piercers. Every shop had them. Here in Vegas, like most shops don't even have piercers anymore. It's kind of a dying art. Now, the thing is you have to be passionate about it in order to succeed in this industry. If you just like, oh, it'd be a cool thing to do, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to make money. So it's one of those things where if you're passionate about it, do it. And, that's with any line of work. If you're passionate about something, you're going to be far more successful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
I want to say, I feel like it's a dying art in a tattoo studio to have a body piercer, only because I feel like there are so many just piercing only establishments that are a lot more reputable. So
yeah,
I have to disagree with that a little bit, but just
yeah,
with
but
it being dying, but
like here in Vegas, there's over 400 shops,
right?
And what is there? There's probably
maybe like 5 or 6 piercing only establishments.
So it's getting more popular, but it's still like back in the day, all 400 of those shops had piercers in them.
Yeah, they did.
So it's harder.
But I actually kind of like it, separating, because you go to a tattoo parlor for a tattoo, you go to a piercing studio for a body piercing. So I kind of like that it's kind of separating in a way.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
I think they should be separate. I'm just saying that there's not as many piercers as there used to be. And maybe
it's always special when we meet a kid that is super interested, in being a piercer. Because I fell in love with this at such a young age. I'm super passionate about it. I'm very lucky to be where I am today, doing what I love.
It's a very magical profession because we get to guide people through fears, overcome those fears, and once they look in the mirror, you will never see anyone's genuine smile as much as we do.
It's the best part.
It is.
Ew, I want to cry.
Yep.
I'm a crybaby. Sorry, guys.
They did respond and said, I have silicone body parts with real needles to pierce, and I know about where to pierce and where not to pierce and how to sanitize, so I really hope to grow up to be a piercer like you. I didn't know if you guys wanted to comment on that.
So unless you went through the proper training to sanitize and sterilize, and as far as placements go, unless you went through the proper training, you do not, in fact, know what you're doing. But I love that you're super passionate about this, and that it's something that you potentially want to do when you're older. Just make sure that you find someone reputable to train under. That way you can be the best piercer that you can possibly become. So super important.
So you may know the body parts, you may understand what a tragus is, a helix is, things like that. But those silicone body parts don't act like normal tissue. The tissue in the back of the ear rolls. The cartilage is harder. Sometimes it's thinner.
No one body is the same as the next one that you're going to see. Everyone's anatomy is so different. Nobody has symmetrical ears. It's very different from a body bit. And also body bits don't feel pain. They don't move. So as far as piercing a body bit goes, it's very different.
But we are no means encouraging you to pierce your friends and other people.
Please.
You have to go through an apprenticeship so you're not spreading diseases. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. Very important.
I just want to add in there that I always say that the best way to get into an apprenticeship is by developing a relationship with a shop or a piercer that is reputable. Go get pierced, ask them questions, show an interest, and whenever they're ready to take on an apprenticeship,
Absolutely.
You'll be top of mind.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. That's the way to do it for sure.
Awesome.
Cool.
We've got a hey guys from the best name I've ever heard.
Here we go.
Flumpus Dumpus.
What is it?
Flumpus Dumpus. So just
Nova loves silly stuff.
Love that. I love it.
It's hilarious to me. Thank you, Flumpus. All right, from a sneaky production. Hello, longtime fan here. After
Thank you.
seeing your video about snake bite piercings, I finally got mine after wanting them for years. Thank you for the informative video.
You are very, very welcome. Bite piercings are basically like any 2 or 3 like combination of lip piercings, and they're great piercings. Lips swell a lot, but for the most part, they're not too terrible. So yeah, overcome those fears, face them head on, and go get those piercings you've always wanted to. So congratulations. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Not looking at my own.
Those are our favorite piercings to do. Ones that someone has wanted for so long, and then they finally get the courage and they come in and do it. I'm always so honored when I get to do piercings that people have wanted for so long. It's the best feeling.
Love it.
Oh, and hey, let me interrupt real quick. If you haven't subscribed or hit the like button, definitely do that for us, okay? Thank you. Back to Nova.
Awesome. We've got one from another great name, Froppit.
Froppit.
Hey Scott, I came by a year or so asking about Ashley piercings to mimic angel fangs.
Cool.
I ended up getting the double vertical labrae on the bottom lip as advised, and they turned out great.
Awesome.
Perfect.
So glad to hear, and thanks. Glad you're here today too. So yeah.
Awesome. We've got one from Angry Punk. Hi everyone. I just got my doth pierced 24 days ago. I was pierced with a titanium implant grade horseshoe.
Cool.
I only use Neomed and non-woven gauze to clean the piercing very carefully. No sign of infection. I guess it does continue down a little lower. I guess they're saying that they have some warmth, pain, redness, or discharge that's brown or green. I leave it alone. Don't sleep on it. Don't play with it or rotate it. Is it normal for cartilage piercings to look like they're forming bumps? Or maybe they're saying that there's no sign of infection.
But the brown or green discharge, is that what they're saying?
I think maybe they're saying there is
no sign of
that.
that. Okay, yeah. As long as there's no signs of that, because I was going to say you are naming everything that are like the beginning signs of an actual infection. But if you're saying that that's not the case and you're just developing bumps, doth piercings have the tendency to develop these piercing bumps. In my opinion, it's pretty inevitable with this piercing. Just make sure that you continue to keep them clean and leave them alone. Once those bumps appear, they'll last between like 4 to 6 months to a full year. They'll, show up off and on until they just stop coming around. You just have to continue to keep them clean, leave them alone. I believe it's because you're kind of pierced at a straight angle, but we do put a circular, curved piece of jewelry in there. So it does tend to apply a little bit of pressure on the tissue itself. So...
And it's also not uncommon to get a little bit of discharge, being it like clear or yellowish.
Yep, clear, yellow,
you wanna
whitish.
Make sure you get that off. But yeah, if it's brown or green,
That's no good.
that's
Yeah.
no good.
Yeah.
Look, I drew another picture.
Good job.
Okay, so
A+.
Here's one thing you should look at in your ear. When you get a piercing, we accommodate room for swelling, but you need to have about 2/3 of the ring showing and only this much inside the piercing. Sometimes if you overswell where you have half the ring showing, that is going to be pinching on your doth, and that's why you end up getting those huge bumps right on the side. So if you have only half your ring showing, you should get a bigger ring put in there, and that will help get rid of the bumps. And then also try to get rid of the swelling if you can, like ibuprofen, Aleve, or Advil, and then cold soaks, like in some cold water. That can also help alleviate the bumps. If you're wearing earphones, earbuds, that will cause those bumps to happen. And also, we haven't mentioned it yet today, but emu oil. It's amazing. You get some, we use Desert Palms Emu Ranch emu oil. You put a little on that on your bump, and that will help calm down any upset piercing. It really, really does work well. But yeah, that would be the one thing I'd say is check how much swelling you got going on, see if you need a bigger ring. Otherwise, just baby it. Yeah, because they swell a long time, and bumps do happen.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. We've got a question from Cheyenne Oaks. I have both my nostrils pierced and my septum done. My first nostril was done about 2 years ago. I made the mistake of changing it to a ring way too soon. I also changed it from an 18 gauge to a 20 gauge. Now every time I try to change it, nothing wants to go back in. Back end, I assume she means back in. And I end up having to push it through super hard even though it's the same gauge, causing a lot of pain and usually a bump. I'm not sure whether I should let it close and re-pierce it or if I should just wait longer. I have had the same jewelry in that I changed it to for the first time, so it's been in for at least a year.
Damn.
Okay, that's a tough one. I mean, if you're swapping out the jewelry as frequent as it kind of sounded like you caused a lot of trauma to this piercing, creating excess scar tissue, sensitivity, and a prolonged healing process. It kind of what it sounds like. So if you put the jewelry back in that you were initially pierced with, I would recommend leaving that in for as long as you possibly can until it is fully healed. We all know when a piercing is 100% fully healed, in order to swap it out to a ring. So yeah, we don't usually tell people to swap out to a hoop until 6 months to a year. Like 6 months, you're lucky at 6 months if you can swap it out that soon. I typically tell people about a year and a half in some cases.
It really depends on the nose and every person. Some people do it after a month and don't have any problems.
Right.
I tell
Some
my
people are pierced
customers
with
a
hoops.
minimum of 4 months.
Yeah.
And I tell people that doesn't mean at 4 months you can do it. That would be under perfect circumstances.
Right. You would have to come in just for a piercing checkup to make sure that you're good enough to swap it out. But
so if you couldn't get the original jewelry back in, I'm curious what you're actually wearing, because it could be lower quality jewelry, and that could be a source of the problem. So
Exactly.
if you get an implant grade titanium stud back in there, maybe go to a piercer, have them put it in so it doesn't rip and tear your nose apart again.
because they can
and
use a
cause that bump
taper
to grow. Yeah, we
taper
have
will
tools
ease
for
the
that.
jewelry in very easily. It'll eliminate adding more scar tissue and trauma to this piercing. And then just wear that jewelry until your piercing is fully healed.
Yeah.
It sounds like you might be looking at like a full healing process of about 6 months to a year.
It's going to take a while, but you got to put it in there and leave it be.
Nose piercings are such touchy piercings. People don't understand. It is a combination of cartilage and soft tissue, and the soft tissue on the inside is typically what swells up the most. But once you get that cartilage swollen,
It's a bad time.
It's a battle.
it's a bad time.
Just because it's common doesn't mean it's easy.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a question from Chip. Hey, y'all.
What's up, Chip?
I started stretching my septum. I got it pierced at a 10 gauge almost 3 months ago and switched it to an 8 last week. How long should I wait? Before considering sizing it up again?
When your septum is pierced, if it was pierced properly and it didn't hurt, generally I tell people 6 to 8 weeks between each stretch. Now
Same.
the thing is once your jewelry's in there, if it feels loose and it moves nice and freely all the time, it might just fall right into place. If it's not, doesn't move around and it still feels snug all the time,
Or sore.
you're not ready for it. Once you start getting to the bigger sizes, the 4 gauge, 2 gauge, 0 gauge, the jumps get a little bit longer and you have to give it a little bit more time. So patience with this one. I'm not sure what you're wearing for jewelry, but some people like to actually wear steel jewelry in there.
Heavier.
Because of the weight can actually pull down. Or if you're using a captive bead ring with a single bead, a lot of the captive bead rings now are niobium, and niobium's definitely heavier than the titanium. That's the only downfall I would say to titanium, is its lightweightness doesn't allow piercings to stretch as fast and as easy. But I also will say at the same time, which is contradicting myself, that weight's not the best way to stretch.
No.
But it does help a little bit. Yeah.
All right.
Woo!
We've got from James Bates. Kelsey is awesome. I agree.
Hi.
Okay, so this one has some numbers in it. So I think it's rubedo.
Okay.
Let's see. Hey, I've been
Verbatim.
I can say, yeah, right. I've been
so
considering
bad
an
about
L-bend industrial since I don't have the anatomy for a regular industrial, and I wanted to hear your opinions on the piercing, if it's one you've seen or done before.
On which one?
An L-bend industrial.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I actually just had a memory on my Instagram of one that I did a custom industrial piercing for, where it actually went.
I'm drawing. It's my turn to draw.
So in the ear, it went through this forward helix part down this way, and then I pierced straight through the cartilage. So it was literally an L-shaped piece of jewelry, and it fit super perfect. But yeah, custom bent industrials are super awesome. I actually just had to custom bend a bar for a client who had pretty good anatomy for an industrial. It's just their flat stuck out a little bit too far to wear just a plain.
Okay. So the top one up here, this is a normal barbell, but when you don't have the ridge of your ear,
Here we go.
yeah, so it's like this is a natural
yeah.
ridge. Okay, that would be a great one. Can you grab the other ear right below it? That shows no ridge. Now, when you have an ear like this,
This
that
one
one's heavier.
doesn't have.
Yeah,
It's
there's
like a
no ridge
baby.
here, so it's just going to reject out. But when it goes through here and then you angle it back with a slight angle in here, it's going to make it look like mostly a straight piercing, but there will be that slight angle. You can't wear normal jewelry. You're going to always have to have a piercer to change it for you. Now, there's also another thing I like to do once in a while. And when you have a straight barbell, like going across the ear, there are these little claw ends. A lot of times you're going to see opals and things like that inside there. But what we can also do is put a titanium ball, click that in there. So this has kind of got a pivoting thing.
Like a little hinge.
You do a normal helix and then the industrial angled helix here, and it's got a hinge so it can move with you. And that's
Super
my
cool.
personal favorite one.
Cool.
Floating, yeah.
Yeah, they're super awesome.
But yeah, they can work, but you have to have them bent perfectly. If you start getting bumps, go talk to your piercer. Sometimes we need to add a little bit more bend, a little less bend, or give more room for swelling. It's more work, but if you really want it, it's the only option.
Right.
Yep. Great question.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we've got another one from Angry Punk. Is it normal for cartilage piercings to look like they have bumps when they are fairly new, but go away when they leak clear and light-colored fluid?
Yes. So those are the piercing bumps. And with helix piercings, honestly, anything that has a combination of soft tissue and cartilage tend to get these bumps during the healing process. Typically, they'll come around like the first 4 to 6 weeks, and then they stick around for about 4 to 6 months for the first couple months of healing. So,
Yep. And
yeah.
And for what it's worth, what the bumps are filled with is that fluid that you're talking about. So
yes.
it makes sense that as you're starting to see it drain.
Yes. Then the bump kind of goes away. Yeah.
So I just want another off-topic thing, but kind of about the same thing. Ear piercing guns or pressure-sensitive devices, whatever you want to say. The reason those always cause the bumps on the back of the ear is because the ear gun, when it slides on the ear, it pushes all of this tissue off to the side. So your skin's not in its normal place. It does the piercing, and when it tries to grow back, that's why you end up having a huge bump on the back of your ear from the piercing guns. It's almost impossible to avoid when you ram it in there. It
distorts the tissue, and it takes it from like the way that it naturally rests, such as this, so when we're piercing and we're piercing straight down, we're using support in the back, but your ear is still being supported in its natural position. With those guns, it basically squeezes the tissue outwards. So then the soft tissue kind of pulls away from the cartilage and then causes like this weird zigzag almost.
Mm-hmm. You don't really have much of a chance of it healing straight or proper without a bump. So.
And then you feel that bump in your ear for the rest of your life. Scar tissue.
Scar tissue.
Dun, dun, dun.
Alrighty, thank you guys. We've got one from Silently Judging You.
Always.
Over time, I've noticed something odd. The left side of my body seems more reactive to piercings. More bleeding, swelling, eye watering if it's nose stuff. Is this normal?
Interesting.
I think I've heard that before. I don't know, I hear it more with nipple piercings than anything. Like I always ask, do you have a side you want to start with? Let's start with the more sensitive side. And there is a more sensitive side. I don't know if it's psychological, but those psychological things do make a factor. They're a factor in the piercing. Now, when you're getting pierced, if you're aware of this, get the more sensitive side pierced first, because it's generally the second one is a little bit more intense. It's like 2 or 3% more intense than the initial first piercing you got. So why would you want the more sensitive side to be the more painful side?
Right.
So that's why I always started, like, if you have a sensitive side, start with that and then go to the other side afterwards. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, sometimes when I sleep at night, sometimes I feel like my right side might be more sensitive than my left. And I don't know. Yeah. I believe you, but I don't know what else to say about it.
Maybe I would maybe try to research a little bit further on that. We're piercers, not doctors. And I feel like that's something that a doctor might be able to answer, or, even maybe like an acupuncture therapist or something. Someone who knows a little bit more about like the body's anatomy and why it does things the way that it does. So yeah, that's interesting.
Well, if you're right-handed, like I know, like for breasts, if you're right-handed, there's more muscle tissue, so there's less there. So if
that
there's more,
explains. I'm just kidding.
So, no. But what I'm saying is, like, that would make one more sensitive than the other because there's more fatty tissue. The other one has closer, more exposure. Same thing with arms. So, like, if I'm right-handed, I have more fatty tissue, and then this one's gonna. I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. I'm just trying to be a detective.
It could be. Yeah. Are you right-handed or left-handed? That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good analysis, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Scott over here.
All right, we got one.
Mad Dr.
City. Ears had a bad allergic reaction. Not sure what yet, but they were at 2 inches, and now I'm working a second job so I can afford to have them sewn up.
Oh, no.
Wanting to
bummer.
do something else extreme, but I don't know what yet.
Well, that's a bummer, first and foremost. I'm sorry that
Had a
happened.
bad reaction. Sometimes when you get to larger sizes like that, certain stones, like sedimentary stones, have certain oils in there that can secrete out. So sometimes we always seek
Some
out
woods
those
are
crazy,
toxic
like,
and will literally eat the tissue of your lobes.
That's it. It's like, oh, I've never seen this before. This is so different.
Or if you
There might
stretch,
be a reason. Yeah.
if you stretch with silicone, that's really
Rips
bad.
and
It
tears.
can literally
Yeah.
just tear your tissue. And then once your tissue breaks and the chemicals that are in the silicone, if it's not like a specific grade, the chemicals that are in the silicone can actually eat away at your tissue as well. So just be cautious of what materials you're putting in your bodies, people. It's so important. Our bodies are so important.
So if your mind's already made up and you're already losing your lobes, I'm really curious if you're going to get what I got, which was the ghost limb syndrome. You know, people have getting like an arm amputated or something. When my earlobes were removed, I literally felt my ears for a good year afterwards.
Weird.
Like you feel the weights on there, and I literally felt things moving.
So
it was
bizarre.
And if you have 2-inch earlobes, you're used to having them big like that, I bet you're going to get it for a little bit if that's the case.
Or if you can find an artist that might be able to just kind of reconstruct or reattach what, I'm not sure if your earlobe actually split, like you got the lobster claw going on, but you can actually have somebody literally cut here and then sew those 2 pieces together. They'll be a lot smaller, but they'll be a little healthier. And then once you have that, because of the scar tissue from the reconstruction, you're going to have to stretch super slow to get to a specific size. That way you don't tear what's healed. So, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we've got one from Chris Schaefer. I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit. Hey, Scott, he just got 4mm, I believe, lobes done 4 months ago, and my double flares keep falling out. Is it time to move up in size?
Yes.
I would say yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, the first 1 or 2 stretches sometimes happen automatically, and your ears, you're almost forced to. So once you do a large size earlobe piercing, a month or 2 later, you have to stretch. Otherwise, this is what happens. So, yeah. The thing is like your ears will always get a little bit looser, and some people's ears naturally stretch. So if yours is one of those, you might need to start looking into larger flare plugs so they just don't fall out. But yeah, at this point, I'm not surprised. Congratulations.
Yeah. Good for you. That's awesome.
Alrighty. We've got one from, I believe it's Dragon X-Ray.
Nice.
I wear glasses and was wondering if a scaffold industrial piercing would be affected by taking off and putting on the glasses.
Sometimes.
It could. You just got to be cautious of where you're. Make sure that when you go to a piercer who is going to be doing that piercing for you, takes a look at where your glasses sit. That's super important. Usually when people are like, oh, should I take my glasses off when you're marking? No, keep your glasses on. I need to see where your glasses sit when I'm doing this marking.
It's ridiculous. Some people's ears are kind of more flat back like this. Some stick out. The ones that stick out generally bring that bead in the bar away from the glasses, and that works. But if your ears are more flat like this, hopefully a little smaller than this. What?
Can you hear me now, Scott?
God, I'm a big kid.
The person with that ear could get a conch removal and still probably
Absolutely.
Alrighty. We've got from Emily Sakuma.
Yeah. Hey, Emily.
Hey, Emily.
Scott and Kelsey, I missed you.
We missed you too.
One of our regulars.
Yeah.
Is it possible to do a transverse piercing through cartilage? I got my ears cropped, so I have some extra surface for piercings.
Okay.
I guess it depends on anatomy. That's interesting.
I've done transverse tragus piercings.
I was going to say transverse
because
tragus.
sometimes those get thick enough. If it's too thin, it's not going to work.
A snug is kind of a transverse piercing. Not really.
No, you don't go the long way.
Just kidding.
I'd be really nervous about it. I would have to take a look at your anatomy.
Yeah.
And
I'm intrigued.
I am
So-
too. I am too. I will say that there's a really high chance of migration where the bar might change and shift a little bit to try to get out of the cartilage. Back in the day, I used to have a transverse earlobe when I had earlobes, but it was up and down the long way. And over 6 months, it changed almost 90 degrees and turned
Wow.
itself completely the other direction.
Wow.
And that was partially through the cartilage on the top, and it was a weird angle. But that would be my concern, is that it's not going to hold up. I would have to see your ears. Yeah.
Could
Thanks,
be,
Emily.
Depending on anatomy, if you had like a fold there.
But she said there was some sort of cropping or something going on, so I'm not sure what mods were done.
But yeah, you might be able to
Okay.
do a hidden helix if
Yeah.
if you have the space for it. But I don't know exactly what cropping ears means or looks like. So
Like cropping, like to
Yeah.
a point.
Yeah, like if your
Or-
ear is pointed, so if your ear is pointed like this and you want to do, like the piercing that goes through the two.
Yeah. Now, the other part I would say is normal scar tissue is not as strong as the regular tissue. So if your ears have been manipulated and cropped, the chance of more problems, I think, definitely
Yeah.
arise. Yeah.
thanks for that question. That was a fun one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Tate Felton. Hey, Scott and Kelsey. So glad I finally got to make it to one of these.
Welcome in.
Yay!
Awesome. From Sunflower666. I have started stretching my septum for stacking. I currently have one 16 gauge and one 18 gauge in there.
Nice.
I want to stretch by stacking.
Yeah.
Do it.
what
It's a
size-
really good way to do so.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. What size increments should I go up at a time? Good question.
I would do the 18 gauge at this point. I
You
would
do
buy.
18 or 16. It depends on like what you've got going on.
I would say if you bought another 18 at this point, so you have a 16 and 18 and an 18, you're going to be able to stretch. And then what I would do is I would switch out those two 18s for a new 16, so then you have the two 16s in there, and then you might be able to start fitting. So that way, like the 18s are easier to squeeze in there, and you might be able to get a faster, easier stretch. But the combination between the 18 and the 16 is what I would go with.
Yep. That's what
yeah.
what I've been doing for almost
Yeah.
10 years now.
Cool.
Stacking. Yeah, stacking. I just
Do you only do 16s or do you 18s as well?
16, 18s.
16s and 18s?
Yeah.
My,
Yeah, the two in the back are 16s and the two in the front are 18s.
I wish I listened to my own advice a little bit better. I tried stacking mine, but I was doing 14s and 12s.
Oh, God.
It didn't work very well. It hurt.
Oh,
And then they're
ow.
pinching and they're twisting weird. You need the smaller ones in order to the stack work. Make that stack work. So, yeah.
Awesome.
I'm not surprised I did that, though. Yeah.
Me neither.
Me neither.
All right, from AJ. Quick question: should I get an anti-eyebrow piercing or a dermal? I have the face for either, but I only want one of them. Mostly depends on how the healing process is for them.
So for me, it's not necessarily about the healing process or having the anatomy for it.
Modalities.
These are just two piercings that I try so hard to talk people out of. I mean, microdermals, those are a semi-permanent piercing. Eventually they can just kind of grow out.
In my experience,
reject out. But
2 or 3 years is the average lifespan. Some people have less, some people have way longer, but 2 to 3 years is what I tell people to expect. And then you're going to have a little bit of a scar on your face.
Yeah.
As far as the anti-eyebrow piercing, it's at the top of the list as far as difficult to heal. It can be done.
So it can be done, and it can heal. And once it does heal, though, so once it's pierced, it'll look nice and flush. But then over time, with the healing and the swelling and the tissue then just settling, the bar itself is going to stick out a little bit, not sit as flush. So I don't know. I personally don't like the anti-eyebrow piercing whatsoever. They tend to reject. They have a very high rejection rate, more so than the microdermals. I personally did have microdermals around my eyes. And after 7 years, I decided I was just over them and I took them out. I've actually had this done 3 times. Now, this was my 3rd time. I snagged it really hard and it just kept growing out and growing out and growing out. Again, once you snag it, it's like it's an end game. Yeah. So just be prepared for scarring.
Yeah, I would say like the anti-eyebrow piercing itself can leave a way bigger scar if it rejects and you don't take it out. The microdermal doesn't leave as big of a scar, but I think you have better long-term effects with the anti-eyebrow if done with the proper jewelry and you have the right anatomy. It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Don't expect it to work. It's a temporary thing. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
Done.
They're temporary, in my opinion.
Agreed. From Marisol Cruz. Hello.
Hi.
What's y'all's favorite piercing on yourself?
My nipples.
It's always his nipples.
They just feel right when I'm getting out of the shower and I look in the mirror. It feels right, and I would feel completely naked if I didn't have them. And if you said you have to take all your piercings out but one piercing or at least one set, my nipples stay.
Yeah, I think if I had to keep a set, it would be my nose setup. But I don't know.
That's
I can't
like
really.
Piercings.
I can't really picture myself without my philtrum piercing, the Medusa.
I love that on you.
Me too.
Yeah.
For me, it's actually a recent one, so I didn't expect to get this feeling from it, but it is my bridge.
Ooh.
Cool.
You feel like a badass with it?
Just every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, that should have been there a long time ago.
My whole life.
I've been born with that. It feels like it looks really right on me, which I wasn't expecting. I was kind of like, meh.
You know, I have to admit, when you came home from being out of town, I had to sit there and think for a second, has he always had the bridge piercing?
I thought the same thing, dude.
Or is it fresh?
Same
and
thing.
do you remember I asked you, did you get your bridge pierced while you were gone? And you were like, yeah, and my high nostrils. And I was like, okay, well, it was one of the 3 that I had no idea if you've always had this whole time. So,
you know, it's such a compliment when someone has to ask you if you've always had that, especially a piercer or something, because then it's right. That means it looks so natural on you, and that's the best thing. So,
that's how I felt about a bridge piercing on a client I did last night. It was my end of the day piercing, and man, oh man, like it needed to be there. And she was like, that's it. That was what I was missing, and what I needed to have to complete my face setup.
Magical moment.
Perfect.
That's how I felt too. It everything together.
Yep.
Bridges are awesome. It's, you know, once you guys said that, it's just like I started thinking about it. I'm like, I've had mine since I've been 18 years old.
Wow.
I don't remember taking it out. I remember taking it out and getting it redone.
I don't think I have anatomy for it. Do I have anatomy for it?
That bone comes up pretty high. No, you don't. You don't.
I didn't want it anyways. I didn't want to feel cool.
The bridge
Ruined my life.
If you don't have the right anatomy for a bridge piercing, it causes bone erosion, and I don't know if the skull's worth keeping in one piece like that.
I think so too. Yeah. Definitely.
I was lucky. It was like super easy on me. Kate did it at Mantis Piercing.
Okay.
Pittsburgh, and she said that it was like
Butter.
easy. Yeah, like it was. I think that's exactly what she said.
A hot knife through butter,
I
baby.
hate marking them, but I love piercing them. It's a complete polar opposite. Like if you said like mark one piercing, like you take it off bridges. They're so hard to
They're
get
difficult.
straight, but when you do them, they're just like butter and.
Because it's so funny because when you're speaking to someone and they have like these face mannerisms or whatever you want to call them, like just like natural things. Like I know I lift my right brow a lot when I'm talking. And so when someone's sitting like this, nice and straight, it looks perfect. And then the second they start talking, that one brow goes up and it throws everything off. So you're like, okay, happy medium here.
Yeah.
Where are we going with this side?
Whenever I mark a bridge, I always tell people like raise their eyebrows for me. And like
I go like
would
this
say
and then angry face and
like,
then one brow, the other brow.
10% of the people do it symmetrically where everything stays nice and even. But if someone has a bridge piercing, tell them to raise their eyebrows. Watch that bridge go crooked.
My understanding also, it's like it's not one that has to be absolutely perfect once it's downsized. Because I know, like, if I'm looking down, I always notice it when I'm washing my hands. I'm like, oh shit, that looks really crooked, and then I like stand straight again, and I'm like, oh no, wait, it's not.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right, enough about my bridge piercing. We've got one from Hawk Cock.
Yeah, brother.
We get all the names here.
America.
WK. I feel like piercing the human body is a very artistic way of healing one's trauma. This is not where I expected to go with Hot Cock, but I'm pleasantly surprised. It's cheaper than therapy. You get to hurt, heal, and admire yourself for being sturdy. My nipple piercings really help me find ways to cope.
I feel that's a pretty like interesting way to kind of put things, but I for one I'm one of those piercers that doesn't necessarily like to, I guess, associate like self-harm or like, I mean, not necessarily, I don't know if that's like a really good way to put it. I want to say
pain. Way of doing self-harm.
Yeah, it's like a safe way of doing. It's like a pain therapy. Pain therapy is one thing. We all need it sometimes, I feel. But associating body piercing with like self-harm is kind of I feel it's a negative way to kind of look at it. I know that growing up, my mom was, you know, she compared tattoos and piercings to self-mutilation is the way that she put it. And I didn't like it that way because I didn't pierce myself or start getting tattooed to feel better because I was sad. I did it because I loved the way that it looked and it just made me really happy. I wasn't necessarily sad. I just felt like I was missing things, and body art is one of those things that it fulfills like almost like a void. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of contradicting myself with that.
If you really break it down, it's
break
how
it
it
down.
makes you feel.
Yeah, it's about how it makes you feel.
Sometimes you need to feel pain a little bit to feel alive.
I personally don't like to feel the pain of piercings.
Do you like to go to work out?
I do like
Does
to
that
work
hurt?
out.
Is that painful?
It doesn't necessarily hurt, and if it hurts, then I don't like it. So that's where I kind of feel like it's drawing like a thin line between needing to feel the pain and like I don't want to feel the pain. I just want the piercing because I love the way that it looks and I want to heal it and be done, you know. But because it takes a lot for me, I probably look like I maybe could take like a beating or something, but I'm like really not into pain like that. And it's not therapeutic for me.
It is for me.
So the way that I visualize myself afterwards is the therapeutic part, but the pain of it isn't. So I feel like everybody's different. So suspension is just more fun for me. It's not necessarily like, I mean, but there are times where I'm like, okay, if I could just throw some hooks in my back right now and just get strung up, I'd feel so much better. That would be like a form of pain therapy for me. But piercings, it's not a pain therapy thing for me.
It's more adrenaline and letting... turning your body on. Like I love play piercings. That's one of my favorite things.
Okay.
Like I love getting play piercings on me. And it's like you're not damaging the skin. It's safe, it's consensual, but it just it releases endorphins.
That's a really good way to put it. The safe consensual aspect of it, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
So
because
don't pierce yourself at home because like you think it's going to make you feel better or, you know, do things to yourself. Cause I mean, I don't know.
Every
Permanently
person's
scarring your body
different.
reminds you of like that pain that you were feeling, and I would rather not be reminded of that. I don't know.
Okay.
Everyone's
Every
different.
person's different.
Right.
There are people out there who are cutters.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The cutters who like cut their arms or their legs. Sometimes they're hidden, but they need to feel alive. And this is a very, very common thing. And I know a lot of like psychologists or psychiatrists probably have problems with this and they're looking for the better outlet. And piercings and tattoos are the better outlet.
Absolutely.
Because, well, piercings are a temporary thing. You're not going to have the scars. You're not going to have all those things up and down your arm. You're going to get the same effect.
Right.
You know, so this
You
is
get that
a
adrenaline
safer
rush
route.
from the actual piercing
And
the
this
process.
could be from suspension. You know, that maybe it's getting your hair extensions. You know, because I've had them before back in the day, and that hurts getting put in. But you know what? It's like sometimes I think deep down, subconsciously, we need things like this.
Like
Some of us are going to say out loud that that's what we want. Some don't understand. You know, why do we jump out of an airplane with a parachute? You know, it's an adrenaline rush. Are you doing it because,
Terrifying.
you know, you do it because you're scared, and if you weren't scared, you wouldn't get the adrenaline, then why would you even do it?
Right, exactly.
You know, it's the same thing with piercings. It's overcoming your fears. It is going to be a little bit of pain, but you feel alive and you're rewarded with that.
With something cool.
Yes.
Looking cooler.
It's a really, really deep subject, but I think piercings can heal. Now, when I took the Fakir Intensives course, Fakir taught us how to read chakras. I don't do this anymore, so please don't ask me to do it. I don't remember. But, you know, like the laying the hands and figure out what chakras are open. Certain piercings can open block chakras and vice versa. I'm not a big believer in these things, but there might be something to it.
Yeah, Fakir was more into the spiritual healing aspect of what piercings and body modification brings to like the human body and the mind, which was super awesome.
So there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. So I'm sorry for digging so deep into it, but yeah, I mean,
I love this part about it.
Yeah,
I could talk about
that was a really good. That was a really good.
Yeah. So don't feel bad about the feeling you need to feel something and it heals, because it does. I'm the same way. At certain points in time in my life, like I need a piercing. You know, I wake up, I need a piercing today. And even if I don't keep the jewelry, even if it goes crooked, I'm healed.
Right.
So
I just want to add that was not me at all trying to belittle you or downgrade, you know, your feelings or, you know, the way that you view piercing and body modification and everything. So everybody does different things to cope with stuff. Just like Scott said, people do a lot of different things. So, yeah.
Thanks for bringing it up. I appreciate that. Yeah,
absolutely.
So we actually got a donation from the Emo Dreamo.
Right on. Thank you.
So
Emo Dreamo, like EMU or EMO?
Emo, like EMO.
Okay.
Sounds cute.
Yeah, right. Will there ever be a return to What Should I Get Pierced? I'd love for some insight on what I could get piercing-wise. By the way, thanks for informing me about the anti-eyebrow and dermal. I might still go with the dermal, but now I'm more on the fence.
Yes. There is a ton of pictures in the list of the What Should I Get Pierced series. The series itself is most likely done, but it's going to be brought back into the piercing show once that is up and going. That's where I'm going to have another piercer, like Kelsey and I will have the picture and we'll discuss together. So it's not just one opinion, but giving you more of and we should be able to go through a lot more of them a lot faster once that series gets started. But it's going to be in a show, in like a variety show. And speaking of, we still need some more questions from you guys. If you guys have a good question and you want to be on the show, send it to ThePiercingShow@gmail.com. Take a video of yourself talking about it, and we'll bring that video up, and you ask the piercers, and we'll answer it right on the show for you. So it'll help other people out, and it's also kind of fun to get on YouTube. So yeah, take a video of yourself, get some good light, good sound, and send it to ThePiercingShow@gmail.com. Awesome. Hey, if you haven't subscribed or hit the like already, go ahead and do that for me. Appreciate it.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
We've got one from Saul Botello Sanchez. Are we talking about Apradovias? Not yet, but we can be.
Apradovias, yes.
The Apadravia is pretty cool.
Apadravia, it is a penis
Pull up a
piercing.
picture.
Pull a picture. Be careful what you pull up, dude.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
So apodravia piercing. So let's say this is a penis. This is the head
give
of the
the board.
penis. Apodravia is a piercing straight through the head of the penis.
Vertical through the head.
Vertical through the head. So basically where you would have a Prince Albert piercing. So if this is underneath the head of the penis, then it would also go through the urethra and through the top. So straight through.
I don't know if you
Pretty
noticed, but
awesome.
I actually had Fakir pierce my apodravia. Kind of ritual
Really?
style in the class back in
Cool.
the day. It was quite an honor to have the master do that.
That's
for me. But
amazing.
yeah. I'll tell you what, that was scary.
You know, I regret being so shy my first couple of APPs because I never had, I guess, the pleasure of meeting him. So,
You had the opportunities, but
yeah,
it was.
I had so many opportunities. There were times where he was walking by himself, but I was just like, oh my God, it's the legend, the man, the myth, and the legend. And I was just so shy. And after I found out that he wasn't going to be attending APP anymore, I was super bummed. But I then made it a point to meet or introduce myself to all the piercers that I look up to.
Good.
So, yeah.
It's so important. Granted, all of us have levels of shyness, but you hear people say, "Don't meet your idols. Don't meet your favorite musicians. Don't meet your."
No,
Screw that.
absolutely.
Go
meet
meet them. They want to talk to you too. Just
Yeah.
treat them like a human being.
Exactly.
And the thing is sometimes you only get one opportunity in life to do these things.
Yeah.
And you're going to kick yourself.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna kick yourself in the ass the butt
Yeah,
for like
yeah.
the rest of your life.
And you
if
know what?
don't,
If they're a
but-
jerk, then you stop watching their movies, stop going to them, and they don't deserve it anyways. And that's
Exactly.
the only way to really know. So go meet them. Go talk to
Yeah.
them.
But I know that
It comes
Fakir
with
was
the
probably
territory.
one of the nicest people on the planet.
He was
Yeah,
magical.
he was. I got to
Yeah.
meet him a couple.
Such
of
an honor,
times,
yeah.
and he was a very gentle soul.
So back in the day when I was I was going to go to the Fakir advanced course, and this was back in 95, 96. I went home one time, and on my answer machine was Fakir talking on my answer machine, saying, "Hey, I just want to let you know you're accepted into the advanced course." I kept that thing on my answer machine for so long,
Forever.
and I just kept playing it until it eventually just kind of, yeah.
Wow.
But it was like, yeah, I was like, I can't believe
Unreal.
Fakir called my house.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Is this real life?
Yeah, real life, dude, real life. How are we doing for time, Nova?
Let's see.
We are going till 1 o'clock today. We have to
good.
quit it.
Yeah, we've got. Let's see. We've got about 25 minutes.
Okay, cool. We get some more questions in there. Once we get down to about 10 minutes, we're going to start doing the speed round and try to get through as many as we can because it's so hard to get through all these questions.
And I gotta
Thanks
get to
again for
work.
being here. Yeah, you got to get to work and stab people.
We both do. All right, another one from iShow. Sometimes I hate myself for having all the piercings, especially when I'm cleaning them and it seems never ending. You guys have those moments too.
Yes.
I don't ever clean my piercings.
Yeah, no, we're pretty grungy about it.
If you meet me, I really
Throw
stink.
some dirt on
Yeah.
it, you know.
It's a pain in the butt. I mean, I'm careful about what I buy for jewelry. I don't know if you've noticed, but all of the things I have are straight beads. I don't have a lot of like
Gemmed stuff.
gems. Chains, for the most part, stay clean because they're for a healed piercing. They do get tangled up, and that's why I have people like Kelsey around to kind of straighten my face out before I go live on camera. That
Yeah.
truly did happen today.
His little nose chain always gets tangled up, so I'm always like, bloop.
But you know what? That's the price you pay for beauty. You got to take it out once in a while and shine up that jewelry, make sure
Really
it's looking
scrub
as
it
good
up.
as possible.
Yeah.
You don't want to walk around with boogers hanging out of your nose, just like you don't want crusties on your piercing. So yeah, clean your piercing.
Yes.
Comes with the territory. And the people that don't have the piercings that we do, they're just jealous of us.
True.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, we've got one from Hail the King.
Hail the king!
Hail.
I want to get a spider bite, but I know that they can affect teeth.
Yes.
I kind of don't know whether to get that or not.
That would be something that you should maybe speak to a piercer in person about. That way they can take a look at your anatomy, how your teeth rest against the back of your lip, where the jewelry would need to be placed. Yeah, that way you can avoid any sort of tooth or gum damage.
If you're wearing the right jewelry and you check your beads, it's not a huge risk, but there's always a risk. The second a bead comes undone, comes unthreaded, pops out, and the jewelry falls into your mouth, you're eating, you bite down, you've just damaged your teeth. There's no way
The
to
length
avoid
of the
this.
jewelry, making sure you are downsizing your piercings
Correct.
during the healing process. So important. Once that swelling starts to go away and the length of the jewelry is there, you go to talk or eat, take a bite out of something, and you catch the back of your jewelry. Ouch.
So you have to downsize, but there's always the risk with any piercing where the metal goes inside your mouth that could come out and you could bite down on it. Not real high, but it's there.
It is possible.
Yep. Sorry if you hear any noise. It sounds like they're doing yard work outside.
Another one from Marisol. Should I do an ear styling before tattooing my ear, or it doesn't matter?
I would probably tattoo the ear first and then do some sort of ear styling. That way they don't have to tattoo around the piercings, and then also aggravating the piercings once healed after tattooing, because obviously you're
100%.
puncturing the tissue, you're causing trauma to the area. You're probably going to have to put longer jewelry in to re-heal your piercing. So definitely do the tattoo first. Absolutely.
Now, if you're trying to do a combination where you want the piercings to work with the tattoos, I would take a picture of your ear, draw where the piercings, or talk to your piercer if you want to go that route and say, hey, what piercings would work, so you have an idea. Then you go to your tattoo artist and say, hey, I want to get tattooed, which, like I'm planning on doing a piercing here, here, and here. If you're doing flowers on your ear, make it so the gems are in the middle of the flower, or make it so that leaf is in the right spot. You know what I'm saying? So if you collaborate, but you have to have the tattoo first, then get the piercings.
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome. We actually got another donation for $10
Thank you very much.
that says, Kelsey is a goddess. She empowers me to be all that I've ever wanted to be. So interesting to hear you two speak about Fakir.
Thank you.
Another high five. Sweet.
Thank you.
Let's see. One from another Kelsey. Hey, out of curiosity, I got pierced by Kelsey. Kelsey got pierced by Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey.
On,
A lot of Kelsey.
I'm Kelsey.
Yep, on
The Kelsey that pierced you.
23rd. She got her navel pierced and had it in for 3 months and took care of it as advised. This was her 4th try at getting it pierced.
Oh, no.
And it says, and on the 3rd, or I think it said I had, on the 3rd month, I had to take it out. On the 3rd month, it was so painful, I had to take it out. Kelsey stated it wasn't due to anatomy for my prior piercing not working, so what could have gone wrong?
You probably should have got pierced by me.
Yeah. It could have been, it very well could have been from the previous piercings, but if we pierced away from the scarring, I don't feel that there should have been any issue. Normally, I won't pierce through scar tissue. To avoid that same problem happening with your old piercing. If you're wearing high-waisted pants constantly, applying any sort of pressure to the piercing, that's super important. Also, sleeping on your stomach is another big thing. Any sort of pressure, realistically, for a navel piercing. I think by like month 3, 4, and 5, my navel was just sore. I'm a stomach sleeper, and I do also wear high-waisted stuff. I tried to avoid the piercing. Eventually, it did heal. Sometimes you just kind of have to ride it out.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's work environments where, it's chemicals. If you're around chemicals at work, if you have a counter that is right at that height that you're constantly leaning against, generally it's not allergies. If it rejected all the way out before and there's a lot of scar tissue is not as strong as the old tissue, and it might have rejected out because of that. It's really, really hard to say. But yeah, if you want, set up an appointment, come in, talk to us, and we'll try to figure out what happened. But yeah, that sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know how long you guys typically say healing goes on a navel, but
6 months minimum.
Yeah, we usually say 6.
Yeah.
Or like I used to say 6 to 12 whenever.
Yeah, 6 months to a year.
But they were saying it was getting really painful after 3 to 4 months, which typically isn't normal. Something else is going on. So yeah.
Okay, cool. We've got one from Ursula's Odds and Sods.
Yay!
We love Ursula.
Would it be a bad idea to get a philtrum piercing when I'm prone to very dry skin and eczema there during the winter? I obviously wouldn't get it pierced during an active outbreak.
They say you're not supposed to get pierced during the outbreak, but if you're going to have constant dry skin throughout the whole winter season, I would think that's going to cause problems.
It could cause like just irritation during that period of time. So as long as you're willing to, I guess, in my opinion, go through, you know, that piercing, getting agitated during the time that you're healing your skin,
Probably depends
it's kind
on
of up to you.
the level of how much eczema you get.
Right.
Does your skin just get like dry and flaky? Or do you get like full on flaking skin and it gets red and swollen and, you know, because I've seen different levels of eczema. If it's just like you get like the skin just gets dry, that's probably not a big deal. But if the skin really reacts, that could be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Talk to your dermatologist about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good answer. We've got a classic swamp ass. Hey, Scott, it's been a while, my good sir. And you're with Kelsey.
Good to have you back, swamp ass.
Swamp ass.
We've got one from Mononoke Mar, who shares our stuff a lot on Instagram. So thank you.
Hey,
for that.
dude.
Thank you.
Woo, welcome back, guys.
Yay. Good to have you.
Fernanda said, "Hey Scott, love your videos."
Hello.
We've got another question from Sunflower666. This is a good question.
What a great name.
Nice.
Yes.
Great name. Great
Great name.
Great name. Great questions.
I have a cheek piercing I have cheek piercings that I got 3 months ago. I have bumps on both sides. How long before this will go away?
Are you a regular makeup wearer? 9 times out of 10 when it comes to cheek piercings, one of the biggest things that people run into when it comes to having issues is because they are not avoiding getting makeup in or around these piercings. You know, we get these really big like pus pockets. And when I first had my cheeks pierced years ago, I was a constant everyday makeup wearer and I never really avoided my piercings. And I constantly had these big bumps that felt like huge lumps like around my piercings. And sometimes I could squeeze them and they would drain. And I stopped wearing, I don't wear makeup on my face. I had these pierced and they healed within, I think it was like 6 weeks. I was able to downsize the first time. Within the first 2 months, 3 months, I had no issues whatsoever.
The right size jewelry is huge.
Yeah,
You have to have enough
right-size
room for
jewelry.
swelling to go back and forth, but too tight of jewelry is a problem.
Yep.
The question also is where the bumps are. They on the outside or the inside? Because if it's the inside, that means you're probably biting down and irritating it from that. But if they're on the outside, it's probably more makeup related, correct?
Could be makeup related, what you're using to wash your face if you don't wear makeup normally. So many different things. Avoiding makeups, oils, lotions. Cheek piercings are the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
So.
We got another donation for $20 from Sammy.
Wow.
421.
Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you.
I have a dentist appointment next year in January. I would like to get my second nostril piercing done in March. My dentist makes me take out my piercings for my appointments. Will I be okay to take the jewelry out?
Next year in January. So you have an appointment a year from now?
I would like to get a second nostril piercing done in March.
Yeah.
That sounds right. I don't know why.
You should be fine.
Should be fine. Maybe put just retainers in. They can't really, I mean, they probably can tell you can't wear those, but as long as you're not wearing metal jewelry, it won't really get picked up.
Well, they're
I
talking
don't
about
think.
a nostril piercing and dentists.
It's dentist, so that means it's
So if
X-ray.
they're, they're getting an X-ray,
They're
they
taking
don't
a
want.
crappy picture. They tell them to take a picture from the side, not the top of your head. Yeah, you should be fine. They don't make you take metal out for X-rays unless it's blocking what they're trying to see. And yes, by then you should be healed up enough where you could put a retainer in if you needed to. Yep.
Awesome.
We need to start going quicker now, I think. We're in speed rounds, aren't we?
Yep, I was going to say we just hit 15 more minutes left, so we're going to be going quick. I'm going to scoot us along. Let's see. From Ayush Tyagi. I got an earlobe piercing on the 20th of December. It's perfectly fine up until now. The issue is that I have a 3-hour exam on the 15th of February, which requires me to take off my stud. I'm a little worried the hole might close. So earlobe piercing on December 20th, and towards the end of February, halfway through February.
They should be fine.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
should be okay.
if you can wear a plastic retainer or something like that to hide it, definitely do that. I'm not sure what kind of test you have, but yeah.
Yeah, typically 6 to 8 weeks to 4 to 6 months is usually around the time when like an earlobe should be fully healed.
Sometimes the third or fourth holes are more likely to close up than the bottom ones too.
Yeah. You
So,
should be okay
should be,
to take it
yeah.
out for the exam. You can even go back to your piercer and maybe see if they can taper it through just so it doesn't cause any damage or trauma to the actual piercing itself. But yeah,
you should be
earlobes
healed.
are pretty easy. You should be okay.
Awesome. We've got one from Rebecca B.
Hey, Rebecca.
How many piercings, tattoos, body modifications do you typically get each year?
You know, it depends on the year you're asking. As you're younger, you get more, and the older you get, the less you get. And I don't like that at all.
Yeah, the last time I was pierced, I had my flat done. Played body arts.
Mike.
Shout out to Mike. Woohoo. And that was
6 months.
7 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah, like 6 months ago.
I've been pierced.
Oh, wait, no. It was this one.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I got this redone like 3-4 weeks ago by Tony at Primitive. And then,
Did you just redo your nipple too?
and I redid my own nipple by myself.
Crazy.
Super easy.
Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. I'm a licensed professional. I can do this. I was very scared. I almost passed out. Yeah. So it really just kind of depends. And it also depends on if you remember that you do those things or not. Because apparently I forgot that I did.
I've been
This one
pierced
and this
hundreds
one.
and hundreds of times, but I like to get pierced a couple times a year. If I don't get pierced, I need to do an energy pull or something like that, so I can actually, yeah.
I just recently started getting tattooed again. Shout out to Brandon Morgan, B Morg's tattooer on Instagram. He just started finishing my feet for me, and they look phenomenal. We're gonna finish them actually this next weekend, I think. But it depends on, I guess, the mood that I'm in. I haven't been tattooed in years since or before that, so.
Piercings are easier to keep getting as you get older. Tattoos, people tend to steer away because they say it gets more painful.
It does.
I say toughen up.
With age, it gets rougher.
I get pierced and tattooed like a bunch of times once a year. So I get tattooed in Pittsburgh. So I typically, when I'm home for Christmas, I get tattooed like a bunch during like 1 or 2 weeks.
Yes.
And then I get pierced pretty periodically also.
Yeah.
We got another donation from Angry Punk for $10.
Thank you, Angry Punk.
Thank you.
I want some outer labia piercings, but it would be my first genital piercing. I'm so dead set on it. It looks so extreme and beautiful to me. However, I'm interested if it's a good beginner set.
So outer labias, they are a little bit on the spicy side as far as the actual piercing goes, but the healing process is pretty easy.
I think it's more anatomy dependent on how the healing process
Yes,
goes.
it is anatomy dependent. Yeah. I would say speak to a reputable piercer. See if you have the anatomy for it. But outer labia piercings, not too bad.
Because I've seen outer labias that are more kind of flat, and those are a longer piercing, a little tougher to heal. Okay. I've also seen outer labias where they're more mounded, and it seems like a shorter amount of tissue, and I find that the more mounded outer labias heal better than the flatter ones.
Yep.
You know?
Yep, agreed.
But every person's
have enough
anatomy
tissue
is
there.
so different. But if you want it, it's totally worth getting done. I mean, there's a couple piercings that heal faster, but that doesn't mean it's not a good starting piercing.
Yeah.
If you have the right anatomy for it and it's what you want, it's a good starting piercing. Yeah. Yep.
Alrighty, so from Natalie Onette, my flat is not healing and also has an angle. I feel that. That's a tough situation.
Yeah.
That is super tough. Was it pierced crooked, or do you sleep on it and it healed crooked and migrated? Because that's one of the biggest things.
I don't think people can really tell when they first get it done.
That's true.
It's only the piercer when you look in the back. So if you haven't downsized to a shorter post, that's huge. If it just started migrating, sometimes you can put those silicone no-pull discs on the back, and it can kind of straighten it out a little bit. But generally, once it starts changing that angle, damage is done. That's why it's so important to downsize to a shorter post. Go and talk to your piercer as soon as possible. If it's savable, they'll let you know. And just bring up the whole silicone disc thing, because not all piercers know about it, but they do work.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty amazing
But
stuff.
if it already is at a super extreme angle.
Exactly. If it's already like damaged and like things if your gem point's straight up, not straight out, you're not fixing it.
Yeah, and then we would just kind of recommend taking it out, maybe getting the other side
Starting
done.
it over, yeah, let it heal.
Yeah.
Cool.
A question from Mononoke Mar. I spoke with my piercer recently about apprenticing, and he recommended going out west since he doesn't get a lot of variety to feel comfortable giving a solid apprenticeship.
Okay.
This is something like I feel like I actually can speak to because I did apprentice east in Pittsburgh, and we definitely do get a lot more variety when it comes to piercing at the shop at Piercing Vegas. So there's stuff that like I've only seen done once or twice during my apprenticeship that they do like every day. So it definitely does help. With that being said, I still feel like you can give a really solid apprenticeship whenever, even if you don't have a ton of variety, just because you a good piercer will teach their apprentice, you know, not just like the act of it, but also the understanding of it. So there's stuff that like I feel like I haven't done before that I feel like I can do because I understand the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I agree 100%. I mean,
I agree.
you need to know the bread and butter. I don't really care about angel fangs or crazy industrials that are custom bent. That's advanced piercing stuff. So once you learn the nostril, the tongue, a lip piercing, a navel, a nipple, and a helix, you know, you pretty much got it down. Then once you start getting to the more advanced, then you start going into the genital piercings, the industrials, and some of the more advanced things. But at the same time, it's like you create a network of other friends and piercers in your community, and you can get that knowledge once you have your core stuff done. You need to learn the core. And if your body piercer, your mentor, is good at that core stuff, that's a great person to be your mentor. Someone like me, the reason our shop does so many varieties is partially because of the show. I mean, honestly, like once I started talking about angel fangs, then we started seeing people come in. I've also had people travel because like, oh, I saw your video and we need to get this done. Not every shop does every piercing under the sun. Most shops are going to do nostrils, navels, nipples, and cartilage piercings all day long. Okay, so learn those, and then you can start going into the more advanced stuff, or seek out like a secondary type apprenticeship, or find someone who can teach you those things. So it is good to be in a busy shop where you see a variety, but I think it's more important to see a variety of people than a variety of piercings.
Very cool.
Yes.
All right, so we're down to about 5 minutes, so I'm going to try and pick up the pace a little bit more.
We're so bad at going fast.
I know.
Scroll through some questions. No, these are all good. Some of them you can't go fast on. This is a quick one from Silently Judging You. Is that cake tattooed on your knuckles?
Yes.
More cake, please.
More cake.
More cake. Yep. Shout out to Fish. I was at the APP conference, and I said, hey, I'm at the banquet. I'm going to go get some more cake. And he goes, more cake. You got to get that tattooed on your knuckles. And I thought about it, and 2 years later, there it is.
Yes.
Makes me happy.
Awesome. Let's see.
Yes, it is.
Cake makes me pretty happy too. Now I want cake.
You know, one time this lady saw my hand and said cake. She goes, please tell me your other knuckles say beef. I'm like,
Beefcake.
I feel this is a good question. From Tide Pup. Hey guys, I got
Hi.
over pierced around mid-November.
okay.
Bridge, set of brows, and a set of lobes.
Okay.
I believe in one sitting. Everything has healed relatively well, but the lobes have small bumps on them and small scabs on the back. What should I do?
Continue to heal them. You did get a lot at once, so
Expect longer healing
expect
process.
a longer healing process. So instead of looking at about 6 to 8 weeks of a heal time, you're probably going to be looking at closer to like the 6 month to a year mark. So it really just kind of depends.
What are the bumps from? Is it from the jewelry too short or too long? Are you getting caught on things
Do you
like
have
towels?
flat backs in? What?
Is it good quality jewelry? And if all those things are good, maybe try some emu oil. That'll help
And,
calm down upset piercings.
Something that I've often seen in the past, especially the scabs
Hiccups.
on earlobe piercings, is make sure that your hair is dry.
Yes.
Or the area behind your ear is dry.
Nice and clean as well. People don't clean their ears very often.
We don't say this enough.
Yep. So
Clean,
make sure to
clean them.
take away any moisture. So one from Mr. Cadaver. Is it better for the teeth and gum to wear a ring in your lip or not? I assume that they're asking about the difference between like a ring and a straight piece.
It kind of depends on the placement of the piercing. So for rings, typically I like to place them closer to the actual lip line itself, if that's what, like, you know, your goal is to wear rings in the future. And then studs, I mean,
Okay, here's my 2 cents. If you don't play with it, constantly biting on your lip ring, it's better, because if a bead came off, it's probably not going to come off in your mouth, and you're not going to eventually bite down and chip your teeth. But it is so much easier to play with them between your teeth, and that will get gum erosion, enamel erosion, and it does more damage. So if you're not playing with it, the ring's better. If you're playing with it, put a stud in.
Yep.
I almost dropped my phone. I had some spam call me earlier. I had to see who was like, who keeps calling me? Spam travel.
All right, we have time for a couple more questions. I'm going to try to get through these quick. From Karsten Crossley.
Sure.
Hi, Scott. I just got my nose pierced on both sides with a 14 gauge. When
Awesome.
I woke up on the left side, there's a tiny bit of blood. Should I leave it or clean it, and how would I clean?
Wound wash spray. We haven't talked about wound wash
washing your
today.
face
Yeah.
like normal.
Sterile saline solution. You just kind of like spray a little bit on the outside and the inside. Once the scabs, crusties, all that gets soft enough, a piece of gauze or paper towel should just wipe it right off there for you. If it's not coming off right away and you just got them pierced, maybe give it a day or so to kind of get in there to do a little deeper cleaning. But yeah, soak it 5-10 minutes and that crusty will come right off there for you. Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Congratulations.
One from Jonathan Torres. Hello, I have a question.
Hey.
My nostril piercing hole has gotten bigger. What can I do to reduce it to its normal size? I used to play with it a lot, so maybe I accidentally stretched it.
You very well could have, especially if you've had a ring in it and you do that thing where you constantly twist it and pull it, you probably elongated
Or if the ring's too tight.
that fistula. Or if the ring is too tight.
If they're wearing a stud and they had a small gem and they kept playing with it and the gem got sucked in and that's the part you're trying to close, then you need to do a larger flat disc on the top until that top hole closes up. That's going to be my biggest thing, is probably make sure that the beads or whatever isn't getting pulled inside. It's nice and snug, and yeah, just leave it be. It will eventually close up.
Yep. From GGN Fennec Vinay. What do you do if an old piercing won't close and it gets filled with white stuff all the time? It's been a year and it still won't close.
It happens.
It happens. Unfortunately, it's just one of the things. So basically, that tube of scar tissue or the fistula is a healed tunnel now. Like it's just a healed opening, and just your body's natural, producing sweat or anything else. It's going to get clogged in there. It acts almost as like a pore now, or like a. Yeah. Correct.
I mean, if you feel an old piercing, like if you had old earlobe piercings or wherever, you're going to feel that hard little bump on the inside. That's that fistula. Sometimes it completely seals. Most of the time, it just shrinks up so small you can't get jewelry in there, but all that white stuff does. And then you squeeze it and it pops like kind of like a zit. So it does happen. Keep it clean.
You could always see a dermatologist or a plastic surgeon to have them remove the fistula and give you a little stitch or two, and then it'll close it, or, see a modification artist or something who specializes in body piercing, reconstruction, closing old piercing holes.
I want to do a video on that one day, because like the old scars, they can actually get those dimples to mostly go away now.
Yep.
I don't know the whole procedure, so that's why I'll talk to a surgeon.
Yeah.
Plastic surgeon. I'll get him on the show.
Yeah.
From my understanding, it's like it is actually, like you said, a fistula removal.
Yep, fistula removal.
So it's
I know a
almost
couple
like
of
they
artists
use a
that do
biopsy
it.
punch and they probably just cut it out and sew it shut. So
Yeah.
Cool. We will end it with one final question.
Here we go.
Will Nova be piercing in the shop?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he will.
Yes.
I will be very
Yes,
soon.
he will.
Yeah, we're working on getting the license transferred over. And then, Nova's going to be piercing in the shop, which I think is amazing.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, you guys are going to love having Nova in the shop piercing. So. All right, so that's where we're going to wind it up. If you haven't already, definitely hit the like, hit the subscribe, and of course, keep putting holes in your body. We'll see you on the next video. I didn't tell Nova where to turn this thing off. Do you know where to turn it off, Nova?
Yes, I clicked end stream.